Elena locks herself inside a cage and tries to plead with the killer by name.
Kenny! Kenny!
This distracts him enough for her to grab one of those metal receipt spike things and stab him in the frickin' head with it. Hell yeah, that's our final girl. The fight ends up between cars where Elena manages to throw the killer off the train. But we all know the playbook here, so none of us are surprised when we see he's managed to hang on somehow. At least it's kinda cool when he appears outside Elena's window like a creepy frickin' vampire. Let me in, Elena. You have to invite me in. The train is just about back to the station when Elena decides to explore the magician's caboose. There she finds David Copperfield's corpse stuffed inside a box with a couple of swords through his body. I'm no magician, but I don't think that's how you're supposed to do that trick, Davey. Elena goes to get help from Charlie the Brakeman, but after sitting down across a table from him, she sees that it's actually Killer Kenny Harrison sitting there, wearing Charlie's clothes with a plastic mask. Although you could argue that Kenny probably killed Charlie for those clothes, I'm not going to put him on the count because it's unconfirmed. And yes, it's different from the two crew members earlier, because they had a line of dialogue supporting their deaths.
You must have got them both.
See? You must have got them both. Kenny takes off his plastic mask to give us the movie's big reveal. Turns out, he's been David Copperfield's assistant this whole time. Now, obviously I'm not a huge fan of this movie, but I will give them this. For having the killer be the most obvious character, they managed to reveal it in a very surprising way. Elena tries to apologize to Kenny, but he ain't buying it. Instead, he growls at her to kiss him, evoking the same thing she said to him back when they just a prank rode him. Surprisingly, his throaty command works and she actually kisses him. But I guess kissing is Kenny's weakness, since it sends him into another bizarre spinning freakout that only ends after Carney walks in with a shovel and knocks Kenny straight out an open door of the train. Kenny falls quite some distance right onto a chunk of ice and slides into some freezing water. Since Kenny's name ain't Rasputin, I'm gonna go ahead and assume he's dead here and add him to the count. Yeah, movie, track that prop body floating down the street. Put the money on the screen. Oh, and that's the way the movie ends, because after that, there's just one last shot of the train. Toot, how many kills did we have in our final kill count of 2018? Let's find out at the year's final numbers. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite
horror movies.
I'm James A. Janice, in dire need of a haircut, and today we're looking at Sinister, released in 2012. Sinister is part of the 2010s trend, when the genre steered into more serious supernatural films that doubled as family dramas. I'm thinking mostly of the Insidious movies and the non-stop spin-offs and sequels of the Conjuring series. But to me, Sinister stands apart from those two franchises by being a little more, well, sinister. Directed and co-written by Scott Derrickson, who not only made The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but also co-wrote and directed Doctor Strange. Sinister follows a true crime writer played by Ethan Hawke as he researches an unsolved murder for his latest book. I consider Sinister one of the scariest horror movies out there. It's got the most well-crafted jump scares I've seen in a long time. And in fact, I love them so much, I just had to include a bunch of them in this episode. You've been warned. But Sinister isn't just jump scares either. It's also effectively creepy throughout, especially during the recurring Super 8 films, and the characters are also believable and well acted that you really care about what happens to them, even when they're kinda bringing it upon themselves. How many saints and sinners will beat their fates in Sinister? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins with a hanging. As a saw cuts through a branch tied to a bunch of ropes, 4 members of the Stevenson family are pulled into the air and hanged by their necks, all while creepy music and sound design plays. This is our inciting incident, and the backdrop for a low-key title card. It's fitting that this is the first image we see in Sinister, since it was the impetus for making the movie in the first place. Co-writer C. Robert Cargill had a nightmare after watching The Ring, where he found Super 8 footage in an attic containing the image we're looking at now. He brought up the idea years later to Scott Derrickson, and the two of them worked together to turn his nightmare into a movie. It's moving.
Wow!
Family who's unpacking their belongings into their new home. Daughter Ashley is upset at her father Ellison, since the move's taking her away from her friends at school. But look on the bright side, little girl. At least you get to paint on the walls in your new bedroom. And maybe she'll be a bigger fan of this place after getting a look at its lovely backyard. Huh, something about that tree looks familiar though. Can't quite place it. Damn, it's like it's hanging right in front of me. Ellison Oswald is played by Ethan Hawke, last seen on the kill count defending his family in The Purge. He's a true crime writer, but his biggest and only hit, Kentucky Blood, came out a full 10 years ago. And although this town's deputy is a fan, Ellison's books about cold cases have earned him the ire of many a local law enforcement. Case in point, this sheriff, played by one-time presidential candidate hopeful, the late Fred Thompson, who tells Ellison he's a hack who never should have moved here.
You ruin people's lives. Now, this town doesn't need that. It needs to heal. It needs to forget.
The sheriff is talking about the Stevenson family hanging, which saw the entire family die except for youngest daughter Stephanie, who's still missing to this day. The police assume she's dead, but Ellison intends to find her. And, write another hit novel in the process. Ellison's not going to find Stephanie in his new attic, but he is going to find a clue up there, a box with a camera, and some innocuously labeled reels of Super 8 film.
Family hanging out 11. Barbecue 79.
But Ellison didn't move here to shoot a movie. He moved here to write a book. His wife Tracy's not a fan of him writing about murder, especially around Ashley and their other kid Trevor. And she'd absolutely lose her shit if she knew this house was where the Stevensons died, which is why Ellison sidestepped the question when she asked earlier.
We didn't move in a few houses down from a crime scene again, did we?
We did.
You promise?
I promise.
Tracy also worries that Ellison will never have another successful book again.
Kentucky Blood was 10 years ago. And what if that was your 15 minutes?
Oh, ouch! That's just gotta cut to the core, man! She tells Ellison that if things go bad this time around, she'll take the kids and leave. He promises her everything will be fine, because his stupid ass don't know he's in a horror movie. Ellison gets to work setting up his home office with crime photos and clues. And speaking of clues, might as well check out those mystery movies you found in the attic, my dude. He sets up the projector and watches the first of this film's many creepy home movies. Once again, the music accompanying the footage makes it feel really uneasy and foreboding. And we were right to feel that way, since eventually it cuts to the hanging footage that opened this movie. Ellison's so disturbed, he has to have a calm-me-down drink on the rocks. But hey, might as well check out that barbecue reel too, right? I'm sure that one's completely harmless. At first, it is, showing a family in the 70s hanging out on a lake. But then it too cuts to a less happy-go-lucky scene, one that shows the same family, the Martinezes, tied up in a car as unsettling music of a different caliber plays. With the camera still rolling, the car is lit on fire, and Ellison witnesses and drinks to another 3 murders. Like I said in the intro, the Super 8 segments are the best and most memorable parts of this movie. What makes them all so effective is that they were actually filmed on Super 8. They weren't shot on some HD camera that had a filter applied during editing. They were also the first things filmed for the movie, and Scott Derrickson would play those music tracks on set to get everyone in the right mood. Ellison goes to call the police and inform them of all this hard evidence he's found, but one reminder of the past glory he hopes to achieve again, and he's hanging up the phone so he can go at it alone. That means it's home movie time again, and the latest release for him to check out is Pool Party 66. I'm more of a Talking Head 77 man myself. Before he can see what aquatic adventure he's got in store, he hears a noise from somewhere else in the house. It's not Ashley, who's still asleep after he tucked her in earlier, mightily impressed by the evolution of her artistic abilities.
Maybe one day I'll paint something really good. Then I'll be famous with you.
Instead, it's this box he finds moving around, because turns out it's a boy in a box. Haha, that's kind of fun, right, Ellison? Oh, nope, never mind. That's not fun at fucking all. It's straight up horrifying. Again, thanks largely to the sound design. But this isn't a new problem for Trevor, who used to sleepwalk and have night terrors all the time.
Are we talking about the time he found Trevor trying to pee in the dryer?
How drunk were you, Trevor? I knew a guy in high school who once got so drunk he pissed in his dishwasher. His parents were not amused. Ellison finally sits down to watch Pool Party the next day, and this short film shows a happy, splashy family around the pool before cutting to a deserted deck at night. Oh, actually, there are people. They're just tied up to chase lodges lined up along the pool. We watch as all 4 of them are pulled underwater one by one in a stunt done practically on set. These actors were actually tied to those chairs and actually pulled into the pool, where divers were waiting to give them air as needed. Amazing. We never learned this family's name, but their video does reveal something else. This absolutely horrifying fellow. Wow, that dude is scary. Chelsea and I call him Spooky Face, and you can't really blame us. Motherfucker's face is spooky. Way too spooky to to be caressing like that, man. Just like with the family being pulled into the pool.
The gang almost got bodied. I had no match, my G.
Was actually underwater for this shot.
I don't know, let me turn my headphones up.
Kept him at the bottom. Again, divers had
Gang almost got bodied. If he just would've hit that, bro.
But worth it in my opinion. That shot isn't classic. Scary as all hell. Later that night, Ellison plays another short film called Sleepy Time, which shows a first-person tour of a house that ends in a bedroom, where, once again, we watch a family get murdered. Their deaths are shown to us in a pretty tasteful/artful way, and it's nice that the little doggy there doesn't die. But the rest of the Miller family does, by means of a kitchen knife, even a young son, though Ellison looks away and numbs himself instead of watching. He digitizes the footage and scans through it more thoroughly, discovering a symbol on the wall that seems important enough to print. Oh, and on photo paper too? Damn, that shit's expensive, L-Dog. Further research and some image enhancement reveals that Sleepy Time was shot in St. Louis, Missouri. Ellison finds a news report about the Miller murders online, where the reporter mentions that the family's 13-year-old son, Christopher Miller, is still missing. Sounds familiar. Things get extra dope when the house's power goes out, and Ellison starts hearing noises from up above. Just try not to panic, dude. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about.
I know he's gonna kill me. I'm not even trying.
He grabs a knife and pulls down the attic ladder, then climbs all up into that void of blackness so he can get jump scared some more.
I'm not trying, so I really don't care if he kills me.
Something with a snack underneath, as well as some childlike artwork depicting all those family deaths he's seen on film. Wow, they got their own little numbers icons there, huh? And you know these were drawn by the production design VA. Included in all these illustrations is a figure labeled Mr. Boogie, which I guess is an alright name, but I mean, it's no spooky face. On his way out, Ellison falls through the attic floor, which brings a paramedic and a police officer to his home. The cop is that deputy fanboy, played by James Ransone, who had previously played Ziggy Sabatka in The Wire, and who has since played Eddie Kasprak in It. He's a nice guy, even if his zoological facts aren't the most interesting.
I did see a small snake, though. Snakes don't have feet.
Being a fan of Ellison's work, he offers to help the writer with whatever he needs, especially if it means a special shout-out in his book.
Well, I could be, like, your deputy so-and-so. I mean, if you don't already have...
I'm sure that's one of Ellison's Patreon tiers, dude. Ellison takes him up on his offer and asks him to find out more about those family murders, then wishes the cop well on his way.
Thank you very much, Deputy So-and-so.
Ellison hopes that with the deputy's support, he can once again write a hit book that'll land him interviews he can record on VHS. Damn, this scene is sad. But it goes a long way towards explaining why Ellison is so committed to this Mr. Boogie book. He gets back to work with the home movie footage, and I spies a Mr. Boogie in the bushes. Them shrubs got spooky face. And so did the house in the Sleepy Time footage, because that evil visage is chilling there as well. He gets a call back from the deputy with names and addresses of the unfortunate families. The family burnt to death in their car, lived in Sacramento, and had a 9-year-old son who went missing. The Sleepy Time family, the Millers, lived in St. Louis, and when the deputy gives Ellison their address, he realizes it's the previous home address of the Stevensons.
Before the Stevensons moved here, they lived where the Miller family murders happened. Holy shit.
Holy shit is right. Look over there, Ellison. Oh, you fucking missed it, man. It was pretty damn cool. Much cooler than this attic footage you're looking at. Oh, wait, you got some ghost hands on film? Never mind, that footage cool. Ellison's awoken that night by the sound of the projector playing Family Hanging Out in his office. You gotta stop messing with motion pictures, man. Just stick to the static ones. They're way less scary. Never mind, shit my pants. He grabs a baseball bat to go boogie hunting in the backyard, but the only thing he finds is a boy. A boy in a bush. It's Trevor, and with his night terrors becoming more frequent, Tracy makes an impassioned plea for Ellison to drop the project and for them to move back home. In response, Ellison has a very well-acted freakout where he says that this is his last chance to succeed. This is my shot, Tracy. I really love the stuff between Ethan Hawke and Juliet Rylance. It's like if Jack and Wendy Torrance were believable characters who are actually in love.
Every minute that we're here, we're a minute closer to that happy ending that we always dreamed of. We're almost there.
Haha, but these stupid motherfuckers still don't know they're in a horror movie. This was actually the film debut for Ms. Rylance, who prior to this had primarily been a stage actor. Ethan Hawke saw and loved her in Sam Mendes' trilogy of Shakespeare adaptations as part of his Bridge project. And
I hate this game so fucking much. I hate this game so fucking much.
Their chemistry is great. Deputy So-and-so shows up with more files for Ellison and talks his way into seeing the full extent of the writer's research.
I gotta be in the loop. A little bit.
Ellison shows him his materials, but when he mentions that the pool party incident happened in the 60s, Deputy So-and-so grows skeptical that these cases could be connected.
Wait, that would put the guy in his 70s?
Or 60s.
But all the murders feature a missing child, and all of the crime scenes include that weird symbol. But no, you're probably right, Deputy. Not connected at all. That night, Ellison gets to my favorite of all the home movies. It's called Lawn Work 86, and if you're wondering why, well, it's because this unseen cam op is ready to do some lawn work. Filming while doing chores, that is impressive multitasking. And that's an impressive jump scare. In fact, it's a very strong contender for my favorite jump scare of all time. And it also gives us another kill for the count, which I believe to be the mother of this footage's family, the Delusios. On a recommendation of Deputy So-and-so, Ellison Skypes a local professor named Jonas, played by an uncredited Vincent D'Onofrio. Jonas tells him that the symbol and all these crime